How do I mess this up?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nick Feeling here in Puerto Vallarta for this, the 10th annual Puerto Vallarta College Challenge. This year's tournament features 10 NCAA Division I on your respective
The view from Puerto Vallarta as the offseason finally ends, and it does so with a potential World Series preview. Two of the best teams in the sport, not only this season, but the last few, take center stage in the very first game of the 2025 season. Happy to have you along here on Flow College Softball, everyone. Corey Brooks, Nicole Mendez with you. Nicole, we've been doing this tournament now for a few years, and I cannot think of a better opener than this. The Florida State Seminoles, the Cowgirls of Oklahoma State. This is absolutely as good as it gets.
I mean, we were talking prior to the show, and this is a World Series matchup. I love the fact that this is how this tournament is opening, that this is the matchup that these two teams are getting. Talk about challenging, talk about tough. Neither one of these teams are shying away from a challenge because ultimately their goal is how good can we get? Let's test our team early on.
Not one bit afraid. Both of these teams happy to talk about RPI, tournament standing, everything in between. A phenomenal showing. Cannot wait to get it going in Puerto Vallarta as these two lead us off. Anthem time across the border.
Ladies and gentlemen, check your watches. It is that time. Let's play!
Always good to hear it, even in Mexico, and that gets these two teams ready to go. Florida State starts the war chant early in Puerto Vallarta. The Cowgirls will certainly bring the energy as well. Two fan bases that traveled here to Nancy Amara Stadium in PV, Mexico, and why not? A familiar trip for Oklahoma State. They were here just a couple of years ago with Kenny Gajewski. They had a tremendous showing, going 3-1, knocking off teams like Oregon, North Carolina, and Ole Miss. And now the Cowgirls look to begin the trip back to Oklahoma City. They have been there the last 4 years. However, they go against the Florida State Seminoles, the 9-time ACC tournament champ under Lonnie Alameda. An absolute juggernaut matchup as Okie State takes the field. Behind their transfer pitcher, a familiar name for softball fans, Ruby Malin taking center stage, one of the best pitchers in the then Pac-12, top 5 in strikeouts, top 25 nationally in Ks. Now all Big 12 preseason. We're going to be talking about a lot of portal players throughout this tournament, Nicole, and Ruby Malin is right there amongst the best.
Absolutely. I have her circled as my player to watch for this game. I'm so curious. Oklahoma State does a great job. We talked on this. If you watch them historically, they do a great job of bringing in transfer pitchers, and you see them thrive and you see them shine. It's not like Ruby Malin wasn't a great pitcher to begin with, but I really want to watch throughout this tournament. How does she handle herself? Are there any changes to how she pitches, how she composes herself? She's my player to watch for Oklahoma State. I want to see what she does on the mound. I want to see how her team responds behind her.
It's a familiar story here in PV for this Cowgirl group. Last time they were here, Miranda Ellish had just moved on. Now Lexi Kilfoyle moves on, becomes the #1 pick in the draft. But the great news for this Cowgirl team and their fans, they find a way to reload quickly. And they do so here with the former UW pitcher, Ruby Malin. And she gets a stiff test to begin her time in Stillwater. It'll begin with Amaya Ross and the Florida State Seminoles, a group that put up historic highs in offense in the history of Florida State softball, and there have been a lot of really good Florida State softball teams. The very first pitch of the 2025 season, fired in by Malin for a strike.
And there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of hype going into this game. We spoke on that. Both these teams are ranked in the top 25 and the top 15. So whenever you're coming out and there's all that energy, you want to be able to attack. You want to go at hitters. If you're a hitter, you want to go at pitchers. Being able to set the tone early, that is always a goal, especially whenever you know you're facing teams of this caliber.
Power in ample supply for both teams. Malin, one of the hardest throwers in all of college softball. Florida State, capable of putting any ball beyond the fence. Maya Ross, the consistent table setter. And now with the confidence that comes in a senior year. Ross putting the first one in play across the diamond. That's the goal of this Oklahoma State team. Keep it on the ground, keep it simple. So far, so good. One up, one down.
So far, so good. That pitch from Ruby Malin was beautiful. She started in on the plate, went out, and then she goes down and in. Really a tough spot to get your hands through, to get your hips through, and get it cleared. That, I think, is going to be the point of attack for Oklahoma State. Like you said, get the ball on the ground. Let your defense, who is stellar, do their job.
Kenny Gajewski started his days focusing on the defensive part of the softball game. That has carried over even as he's become the head coach and handed off some of that defense to Greg Bergeron, the new defensive coordinator, but that's always going to be a part of the identity here for Oklahoma State softball. Sunny Beauchamp working ahead, now sees it evened up. Behind her, Issa Torres, Michaela Edenfield, Katie Deck, Allie Waycaser, Janai Kerr, Kennedy Harp, Annabelle Wedra, the opening 9 for the Florida State Seminoles.
And I want to go back to that pitch that Ruby threw 2 pitches ago, that off-speed, that changeup. That is something that I feel was missing from her repertoire, from her arsenal. Being able to incorporate that off-speed is going to be huge, especially hitters like Florida State, for her.
Beauchamp just fouled down the line. Yeah, you've got to be ready, especially with a hitter like Beauchamp. Her and Torres both putting together 2 of the best freshman seasons, not only in the history of Florida State, but in the history of the sport. And that got Beauchamp the NFCA National Freshman of the Year. We've got a few finalists in this game wearing both uniforms for that award. This young crop of softball players just gets better and better every single year. Beauchamp showing patience to begin her second round.
Yeah, you saw Ruby come out, first batter, really attack the zone, getting ahead 0-2 early in the count. This one, that drop ball, just not as effective, just dropping off a little too early. She rises that up. I think you're going to see a lot of swings from Florida State.
First payoff pitch of the season, just spoiled.
And that's the one you saw immediately from Beauchamp. She's going after that pitch. She's attacking. She wants that one, that up pitch, that rise ball. That is what Malin is known for. That is what Florida State is going to be on the lookout for. They're going to try to avoid falling into the trap of that ball lower in the zone.
Beauchamp works the walk. Set the Florida State freshman record for batting average. Doesn't always need to do it with a base hit. Jay Beauchamp reaches first, the opening base runner of the 2025 season.
And hey, what a way to start your season. Florida State, they know the value in every at-bat. And a walk, like you said, is just as good as a hit for him. For them, that is a big win. That is a tone setter. We're on base early. We're disciplined.
Issa Torres steps in, the lefty, welcoming Malin with an opening base runner. And a quick time called. A conversation between Hassler and Malin. And a quick meeting of the minds. This is what it's about. This is why you challenge yourself early, right? It'd be easy to go out there, take on a team that's overmatched, and Malin's stuff would let her just blow by any given opponent. But that's not what you get here. When you're facing a team like Florida State, you make those adjustments, and you're far better off for it over the course of not only the game, but the season.
Yeah, and you saw pitching coach Carrie Everly, another pitcher transfer who had a lot of success at Oklahoma State. But you saw her talking to Ruby Malin, gesturing towards the corners of the plate. She's missing low, but she's also missing wide. You nail those corners, you're going to get those hitters to feel a little bit more tempted to bite.
Does catch a piece right there. So immediately to your point.
Immediately. It's like I scripted it, right?
There you go.
I love when that happens.
Careful. We don't need to get any controversy started. It's only the first inning of the season. Went back to the change. Torres handled easily. Pretty remarkable. She had one of the best freshman seasons in the history of the program, and it got a little overlooked because of what Jay Beaum did. But she was right there as a finalist for Freshman of the Year as well. And now she'll send it back from whence it came. The two sensational sophomores, both on base for the Seminoles.
And I had the privilege to work with Torres whenever she was in high school with her travel ball team and just get to know her mind. And she is a competitor, not only on defense, but offense as well. That pitch low in the zone, she's able to drop that barrel, stay flat through it. That is the hardest thing, not rolling over on that drop ball. And that's their job. Beaum and Torres get on base because who do you have up? Right here, power hitter for Florida State.
Kayla Edenfield, the better part of a half decade in the collegiate ranks, takes the redshirt year immediately. Florida State had depth at catcher. She was able to learn and develop and has now gotten better year over year, and she could hit absolute tower shots from the moment she got to Tallahassee. Those numbers have only grown as well. Edenfield managed to get a piece. It's rolled up on by Davis, and that's enough to get the job done. So productive both ways. Oklahoma State avoiding the big threat.
And that is what Oklahoma State is wanting. That is what Ruby Malin is wanting. That pitch that is lower in the zone, tight in on the hands, almost sawed off. Michaela Edenfield, she has a ton of power. So if you're able to cut off that source of power, cut off that leg drive, cut off the barrel extension, you're going to see a lot of those weak ground balls, and that is where she's been missing. She's been missing a little low, not on the corner, just too wide, too low. Being able to get in on the hands, that is going to be where she's going to live and be successful against Florida State.
Be up to Katie Dack, and she'll watch strike one. The infield for the Cowgirls: Edwards, Bloodworth, Davis, and Godwin from left to right. The outfield that same direction: Hadut, Delgadillo, and Tim. The battery of Malin and Hassler.
And if I'm Florida State, I've seen 3 batters go up, 4 batters go up. I'm the 5th batter. I have noticed that this is a tendency. She's staying lower in the zone. She's missing wide. I'm very disciplined with my swings.
Sure enough.
And that, I think a pitch like that, it's very, very close. But if Malin is getting the strikes early on in the count, I think those will be called strikes later on in the count. Because she's been missing wide, we're seeing a lot of those being called balls. Again, narrow your zone if you're Florida State.
Couldn't do it there. That's where the velo of Ruby Malin is just so tempting.
And talk about spread. Going from down to up, she tunnels very well. Ruby Malin does a great job of hiding. Is the ball going up? Is it going down? Until late in the zone, late in the path where the hitter has to make a decision.
Over 20 pitches in the first inning of the year, and it'll keep going. Second full count of the frame. Dack standing tall against one of the nation's best, and it's a K. Ruby Malin picks up right where she left off, a strikeout artist. Took a second, but she got going and ends the top of the first, keeping Florida State off the board. 1 hit, 2 runners left on. Now the Cowgirls come to the batter's box for the first time. second years for the Seminoles. Ashton really coming on strong the end of last year. Winds up at 18-6, a 3.20 ERA, over 100 strikeouts as a freshman, leading the way in innings pitched. Because of injuries, called upon, answers the bell, gets the opening day start, and throws strike one to Megan Delgadillo.
Florida State, they got out early. They attacked early offensively. They weren't able to execute and get those runners over. Whenever you have runners on second and third with less than 2 outs, I say this all the time, but it is so important. Get one run across the board. Oklahoma State doing a great job keeping that threat to a minimum. But as you saw with the first pitch and the second pitch, you saw a bunt, you saw a slap. Oklahoma State, they have a lot of tools within their tool belt. They are a team that can do it all. So being able to have your tight defense, to be able to go in and attack the zone, that's going to be really important for Florida State as they go, not just in this first inning, but throughout the 7 innings of this game.
Missing inside there, going against another phenomenal transfer in this matchup. Megan Delgadillo, they call her Cheese. One of the best players in the history of Cal State Fullerton softball. Makes the trip east, comes to Stillwater, and in the very first game hits leadoff. The all-time hits, runs, and stolen bases queen for Fullerton. Nearly put that one in play, but she'll bring it back.
And that's the danger of her. You saw that placement. Yes, it went foul, but the placement, the hindsight of whenever you show a soft slap, that defense is aggressive. And so they're crashing hard in on that pitch. Next one, can we get a chopper over the head of the third baseman? Can we be able to draw them in so you can do what you actually want to do? It's a give and take, it's a play. And I love to see that awareness from her.
This one does wind up in play, and it hops off the glove. Delgadillo barely gets it to the grass and turns it into a double. That's the wheels that Cheese has in the first extra base hit of 2025.
And again, it is all about drawing them in so you can play the game. Look at second base. Being able to notice that as a hitter and go, okay, I am tearing this one hard. No more soft swings. They're drawn in on defense. If I can get something hard, I can poke it through the infield. That is big. And then the hindsight to go, tips off her glove. No one is in sight. Let me take that extra base. Puts them in a great position.
Weidra did everything right. It just has too much speed on the ball, and certainly in the wheels of Delgadillo, and Claire Tim gets an RBI opportunity to begin her season. Tim couldn't quite get the bunt down.
Just in these first few pitches alone, I've seen a lot of movement from Florida State. Oklahoma State is making them move around, shift their infield, shift their defense a lot. If you can create chaos, typically there's a run in there somewhere.
Danley working low. Claire Tim, the All Big 12 preseason selection. Kenny Gajewski said she's starting to really look like a pro, and he meant that in the physical sense, adding muscle, adding strength. She'll have an opportunity to show it right out of the gate. To the bender and couldn't catch the zone. Some oohs and ahs from the Seminole faithful in Mexico.
And that is a pretty pitch, but as we've seen last half inning with Ruby Malin, those corners are tight. You have to establish that you can hit those corners early so you'll get that favor later on in the game.
Skips home, and that's all Delgadillo needs. The opening run of the season is 60 away.
It was a great block by Edenfield, being able to keep her body in front. But whenever you have that kind of speed from Delgadillo, there is no shot in her aggressive. As soon as she sees that going down, the angle of that pitch going down towards the dirt, she took off.
Payoff pitch is high. Runners at the corners for the Pokes.
And I like
Amanda
this
Hassler.
call right here.
Yeah.
I like the timeout. I like this call. It felt like this inning, or this top half of the inning, or bottom half of the inning, got off to a hectic start, a crazy start. Oklahoma State, they do create chaos very, very well. But Florida State, they are a team that's been in these situations. They know whenever that happens, let's call time. Let's pause. Let's reset. Led by Edenfield. She is a force behind the plate. And then you have Issa Torres over at short. Those are the leaders. Those are the ones that take charge and go, okay, let's reset. Let's relax. Here we go.
Michaela extremely familiar with her fellow power threat behind the plate in Amanda Hassler. Quick pop throw down to second. Not a bad idea, but it's two in prime position. And Tim gets the opening swipe.
And that was so sneaky for Michaela Edenfield. I am so impressed. Watch her body. It doesn't even look like she's going to fully throw it all the way down. It looks like she was intending to throw back to the pitcher, but just letting the wrist stay extended, getting it all the way out to second. Yes, the runner was safe, but that adds trickery.
And so a player off one of the top power years in the history of NC State women's softball now has two in potential scoring position. The slow roller, and it just squeaks by Widra. The first run of the 2025 season belongs to the team that's been in Oklahoma City the last 4 years.
And this right here is a great pitch. She did her job, but whenever the moment gets to be high pressure and you try to rush, you try to make the throw before you field the ball, that's when mistakes happen. And that is what Oklahoma State knows. Everybody is playing their first game this weekend. Every team is opening up the season. What can Oklahoma State do to take advantage of that? What can Oklahoma State do to say, how can we push buttons? How can we put pressure? Because teams, they haven't done that since last June, since last May. So being able to create that momentum, that is big. And that crowd's going. They sound pretty good. Oh, yeah.
These are two fan bases not afraid to travel. And especially when the opportunity is go to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, in early February, it's all right, twist my arm, why don't you? And so from Stillwater and Tallahassee, they make the trip.
I guess I'll make that trip to Mexico to watch some softball. I mean, what could be
Especially
worse,
with
right?
These two teams, yeah, exactly. Well, this job does not get any easier for Ashton Danley. One of the best sophomores in America takes center stage. Godwin watches strike one. Jay Beecham wound up winning the Freshman of the Year, but Carly Godwin was right there, top 10 when it came down to it. The Oklahoma State freshman home run record holder with 15 as a newcomer in this sport. Nice off speed right there by Danley. Behind Godwin, it's Rosie Davis, Michaela Warwick, Rachel Hadoot, Talon Edwards, and Megan Bloodworth. The opening nine for Kenny Gajewski and the Cowgirls. 0-2, perfectly placed. What a big time for a strikeout.
Not only the strikeout, but being able to stay calm, to stay focused, midway through that pitch, you could hear somebody yell runner. The Oklahoma State, they're trying to create more chaos. Obviously, she didn't go, but to block that out, continue on with your pitch, commit to the change, knowing that you have it, that is big, and that is a big, big strikeout.
Absolutely faked me out. I was looking at second. Oh, wait, there's no one there. Back to the pitch. Rosie Davis, still a huge opportunity for Okie State in the early going.
One thing that I think we're going to see this season in 2025, we saw a lot of freshmen last year, a lot of new faces, but they didn't quite get their moment to shine as fully as they might have without the COVID seniors. It was their last year. This year, they're really going to get the chance to have all eyes on them.
Whoa, stabbed at third. And you talk about the freshmen getting the chance to step up. Jay Beaum, Isa Torres, one of the best left sides. They're there to communicate, handle it. They wrap up Davis and prevent the threat.
This ball is ripped down the third base line, and Beaum does a really great job of not trying to rush that throw. Get it to home right away. I'm not chasing my runner home, and immediately knowing Michaela Edenfield, she is more than powerful, and if she is running full speed at a runner, they're probably going to be running pretty fast the other way. So keeping that in mind, being able to have that hindsight was big.
Chopped right back up. This gets through that left side. Wide turn by Hassler. She scores. Oklahoma State doubles the lead. Michaela Work, the RBI.
Right now, Oklahoma State exposing a lot of holes with the middles. That one just in between third and short. This is not the best hit. This is not the hardest hit, but you could see Torres, she was scooched up towards the middle looking for something, especially with the ground ball or the drop ball, being able to cheat a couple steps that way. Got caught on that, and that is what Oklahoma State has been exposing with Florida State.
So the Cowgirls get the chance to keep the good going with Rachel Haddoot, the transfer from UNM, University of New Mexico. And much like every other transfer we talked about in this half inning, has her name all over her previous school's record books. When you've gone to Oklahoma City 5 times, including the last 4 years, you're going to do pretty well in the portal, and Kenny Gajewski and this staff most certainly did.
We've seen both pitchers this first inning, and again, it's their first game of the season. This is the opening game of the tournament. There's a lot of nerves, but there's been a lot of pitches on both sides.
You almost expect it. Pitchers just taking that extra moment to settle in. I guess the conventional thinking is that offense has the edge early. We'll see if Haddoot can maximize that. And the inside. That one catches the zone. Beaum, Torres, Widra, and Ross, the infield for the Florida State Seminoles. Outfield left to right, in that same direction. Kerr, Harp, and Waycaser. Edenfield and Danley, the battery. Payoff pitch, swung on and missed. So both teams end it with a strikeout, but the difference is that Oklahoma State pushes across 2. The sensational sophomore bats finding a way to make it happen. And it's infield magic. Don't always have to hit it a mile. Just hit it where they ain't. 2-0, Okie State. Florida State Seminoles will go into comeback mode right away to begin the season. The good news for the team out of Tallahassee is they certainly have the bats to do it. Allie Waycaser and company will get it started against Ruby Malin here in the second.
If you're Oklahoma State, you're riding high off of that first inning. You want to carry that momentum onto your defense. You want to avoid the same trap that you set for Florida State whenever you're up on defense. A clean defense, attacking the zone, not wasting pitches, not wasting moments, but being very efficient, being very intentional every single pitch. Ruby Malin getting ahead pretty quick, 0-2.
Yeah, that's the danger of it, right? Is you see Malin get out. It took her a lot of pitches, about 20, but her offense comes up, supports her right away, and now you get a confident Ruby Malin, which is a horrifying sight for batters. Malin, yeah, bat.
What was it you said, Corey? A horrifying sight.
Just
Ruby Malin.
pure.
I love it. And again, the way that she tunnels that rise ball, that low rise, and the pitch that drops off just a little bit, it is very hard to distinguish one pitch from the other as a hitter until it's almost too late. She does a great job with tunneling.
Janai Kerr hit foul. Another preseason all-conference selection. Sound like a broken record mentioning all of those between these two teams and potential World Series squads. And quickly 0-2 in favor of Ruby.
And that's her finding the zone, understanding. Last inning, it looked like she was struggling. Where's the strike zone? Where are my pitches going? Settling in, taking the moment. All right, let's bring that pitch up. Let's bring it over just a little bit. Make that adjustment.
Pretty much since that visit to the circle, with the exception of that last pitch, Malin has been either hammering the zone or right there. Malin put some tail on it, but Janai Kerr is an experienced hitter. She doesn't chase.
Starting to see Florida State, especially the lefties, staying in the back of the box. They're letting that ball travel as long as they can. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? If you move back just a little bit, that might give you as a hitter a little bit more advantage to be able to see, all right, I'm making my decision. I'm staying down on the ball. This ball is going up. I'm going to leave it alone.
Tenths of a second, but it can make all the difference against a player like Malin. Janai Kerr snatched that one from the top and stays alive.
You know, I'm often really amazed whenever I think about it, the way that the body, the mind is able to make those split-second decisions so quickly.
I'm not sure exactly what you're supposed to do against that when it's velo, velo, velo. Your swing timing is right, and then all of a sudden the ball's not even halfway there yet. A wicket off speed from Malin. She's got 3 straight strikeouts.
And that is a pitch that is going to take her to the next level. If she is able to throw that pitch effectively often, if it's going to be a threat, you know Ruby Malin has that changeup, has that off speed in her back pocket. That is going to be a game changer for her.
Can Kennedy Harp slow down? The unreal start for Malin. Harp, another one of those ascendant sophomores. That's one of the biggest takeaways from last year for FSU. It doesn't end the way they want, but you had so many players get so much experience in meaningful moments and high leverage opportunities. Kind of goes without saying, but this FSU team is going to be good for a long time. Have been, will continue to be. But right now, Ruby Malin doesn't care about any of that.
Softball is really just about momentum. What team has a momentum? What team can keep it? Right now, Oklahoma State does, but that can change in an instant.
Top shelf.
She is not giving it up.
Strike out the side in order. 4 straight Ks. A player who was one of the best in the Pac-12. That no longer exists, but the nasty arsenal of Malin does. She's on fire. Cowgirls by 2. Right now, the name of the game for Florida State, just try and hold serve. Everything belonging to America's brightest orange in the early stages of this very first game.
Florida State, again, we spoke on both of these teams, their history, their experience, performing at the high level. Both of them have the coaches to lead them to greatness. We've seen it before.
Edwards sends a foul.
From Florida State, I would like to see a bit of response, a little bit of pushback. It doesn't need to be a knockout punch, but just something to tap on Oklahoma State and say, we're here, we're back. It could be a great defensive play. It could be a really great series of pitches, of really efficient working through the zone.
Edwards, sky high to right, and the first home run of 2025 belongs to Talon Edwards. She knew it too.
I think everybody knew it. As soon as that ball was swung, first thought, that is out of the park. I was talking about response, about pushback from Florida State, and Talon Edwards absolutely said, no way, this is all me. This is up in the zone. She does a great job not trying to go and get it. That is the temptation with those inside pitches, but being able to get the barrel out in front, rotating in place, and absolutely crushing that. What a way to start off your 2025 season.
In the offseason, the consistent thing we heard from Kenny Gajewski was Talon is ready for that next step. She's already a fan favorite. She's already had a very strong start to her career. But they really felt amongst this staff and with this team that she was going to further elevate. Well, so far, literally could not be any better. Bloodworth steers it in play, and that's routine for Widra. Lineup turns over, and we see Delgadillo for the second time. A leadoff double.
We saw several different looks from her first at bat, a bunt, a soft slap, a chop, and then a hard slap. She has the ability to do it all. Defensively, you need to be on point.
Underneath that one. That'll be a pitch that'll serve Danley well. Delgadillo lays down the bunt. That's in perfect position. Yeah, you're not going to get her in that. Well played to even create something out of it by Jay Beaum, but it's a bunt single for Cheese.
And I'm almost tempted to say with Delgadillo, whenever you see her do one thing, expect the very opposite. Hard
Right.
stand-in swing. Very next pitch, she turns around, she squares around, she shows a bunt. You know that she has speed. That was beautifully placed right in no man's land. That's dead. Again, like you said, a great job by Beaum being able to get in, stop on a dime, get that throw to make it a close play, but there's no shot there.
Megan's off a career year as Tim lifts. Well done to keep it routine by Widra. But Delgadillo still at first. She hit over 400, a lot of plays like that, but she slugged over 500. Part of that is what we saw in the first inning where she'll turn something into a double, but she's got a lot of gas in the bat as well and a tough player to stop. The good news for Florida State is despite the leadoff home run, it's two relatively quick outs.
Batting catcher number 3, Amanda Hassler.
What does Hassler have in round 2? Delgadillo doing what she does. The stolen base queen of Fullerton now establishing her reign in PV.
You could see Hassler. She was taking that pitch all the way. That was a nice job by Delgadillo keeping that hand on the bag. Kind of slid over it. But being able to get that runner into scoring position, that's where you want to be, especially whenever you have speed.
Now she's trying to take third. Good pop throw down. Beaum couldn't quite hit the tag. It's that foot that stays in line, turning a single into a triple.
And watch that read. Her hips never even turned around. As soon as she saw that ball go down, we talked about it the last time she stole third. As soon as you see that ball angle down towards the dirt, she's off and she's going.
It's not an Oklahoma State team that steals a ton of bases, but the addition of a player like Delgadillo can change that math in a hurry.
Looks like Edenfield, something with her hand. You can kind of see her
Yeah.
squeezing it around.
I think may have gotten a
Looks like
piece
she hit
right
the
there
bat.
of Hassler. Yeah. Ouch.
Especially whenever you're going full speed, your hand is open, exposed, extended. That could really, a lot of tiny bones there. So I know how tough Michaela Edenfield is, so that must be feeling pretty tough right now, but I think she's going to tough it out, get some throws in.
No surprise to see her just keep the grit going, remain on the field. Like you said, a couple of warm-up throws. She looks all good. Good to see. Wiggling those fingers. It was a busted finger last year that kept her out for a bit. Certainly longer than she or Florida State would like. Luckily, all good. One of the most electric catchers in the sport. Speaking of, another one who could claim that title, down 1-2 in Hassler.
No kidding. And she looked ready for that pitch. Hassler, the way her body went down to meet that ball, her barrel was on angle. Whenever you see the ball being fouled straight back, that's whenever you know that hitter, she just missed.
Stays alive.
2 pitches, same spot. For me, I would go lower or I would go in on the hands. Same location, same height, same pitch, but in on the hands. Because right now she's pulling off just a little bit. She's able to stay through contact. Hassler, she might be able to get something. So now I think is the time to adjust.
She steers that one into left. Had to reach out. You can see the power to even get it there. But it sits in the glove of Janai Kerr. Still back-to-back crooked numbers for the Cowgirls. 2 runs in the first. And here in the second, Talon Edwards wasting absolutely no time. She goes yard to right. And it's 3-0 Oklahoma State. Got a piece. Watched it fly. The overhead view here at Nancy Amaras Stadium. The teams stay just a little ways up the road, right by the beach, one of the premier tourist destinations in Mexico. Always a fun tournament, a great job by Dave King and the folks at Triple Crown, as always, assembling an elite field, giving these athletes a unique experience. And right now, all of the fun in that experience belongs to the Oklahoma State Cowgirls. They lead this thing by 3. Widra hesitates. Doesn't matter.
Malin, she's been finding her pitches all over the zone. After a slower start in that first inning, I think everybody's allowed to have one of those every now and then. But really, what has impressed me about Oklahoma State, they've been putting on the gas pedal.
Has not looked
letting
back
up.
For straight Ks, going back last couple innings. Make it 5 in a row. A dream start for Ruby Malin.
Now batting for Florida State, top of the order, number 12.
And we spoke about Ruby Malin. She wanted to be the ace. She wanted to be the pitcher that whenever the game's on the line, you have a big game coming up, your coach looks to you and says, you got the ball. She wants the ball in her hands. What a great way to prove this.
And she comes with the beautiful change to begin round 2 to Amaya Ross. If you ask Coach Gajewski and this staff, what is the ideal beginning of the year for Ruby Malin? Probably looked a lot like what we've seen right now.
That was a nice block behind the plate by Hassler. Just, again, being able to be efficient and make the most of every single pitch.
Just missing bats. Maya Ross comfortable in the role. Maybe uncomfortable right now the way Malin's pitching, but the confidence that comes from starting every game last year. Had 18 the year before, was primarily a runner for this Florida State team, but really took off last fall. Rides the momentum into her senior year, but it is not enough to stop Malin. 6 straight strikeouts.
Ruby Malin, what she is doing is not easy. 6 strikeouts against Florida State in one game, much less 6 strikeouts in a row. Being able to stay centered, to stay loose, relax. You're seeing smile. You're seeing her. She's in her zone, but she's relaxed. And that is important.
Jay Beaum steers to left and is able to end the run with a bomb. The reigning freshman of the year has her first home run in round 2, and it's in game 1.
That was an absolute smash. Both of the home runs this game have come from elevated, up in the zone, inside pitches. Watch her body rotate. Just clean, easy, being able to turn and not do too much. She's letting the barrel work for her. She's letting Ruby Malin's speed work for her. I mean, that is as close as you can get to having it be a home run and not be foul, as you could call it. But I love that from Beaum. I love that adjustment. She's been watching. She's been noticing. Now it's her turn to make the adjustment, and she did.
The only drawback to high velocity is sometimes it can be turned the other direction. Beaum does. I love the look on that replay, too. You can see her, and it's not this heavy follow-through, like you said. It's easy. It's smooth. It's so natural for her. And she tucks it in the corner and makes it 3-1. Her fellow sophomore Torres headed that same direction with some carry. Great adjustment in the air by Hattu. So, largely a Ruby Malin game to start. However, Jay Beaum, as she has done from the moment she got to Tallahassee, finding ways to be clutch, to be productive, and to make a difference. You had a feeling we'd get a look at everything. Great pitching, great hitting, and everything in between with 2 World Series contenders. And here's the sensational sophomore and hometown kid, away from home, still going yard. Nobody will use the full extent of their pitching staff more than the Florida State Seminoles, especially early on in a year. And so Julia Abel will take center stage, the Hofstra grad, and much like we talk about the transfers in Oklahoma State, essentially the best on their team coming to Stillwater. Abel can say the exact same from where she got her degree at Hofstra. Over 400 innings pitched, over 300 strikeouts for her old team. She goes into the portal, gets an email on day 1 from Lonnie Alameda, and now finds herself working for the Florida State Seminoles. She will go against Carly Godwin, quite the opponent for your opening at bat.
One thing that you're going to see from her is she likes to work quick. She has a high tempo, high pace. That's something that can get hitters into a lull. She doesn't want to give them too much time, but that is just her natural pace. But she doesn't want to give hitters too much time to make those adjustments. Lefty, you're going to see a lot of curves, especially the backdoor curve, just really working those hitters, especially on the right side, getting over the plate, trying to get them to wave in front of something.
She went 1.39 in the ERA department last year. Just absurd numbers. It's also one of the best in America in complete games. And that number may come down the way Florida State professionalizes their pitching staff. But the overall metrics certain to rise. Two's up.
And you're seeing her struggle a little bit with what these other two pitchers that we've seen so far in this game have already learned. That corner is tight. You have to bring it over just a little bit. That is not something that she wants to do, especially with a hitter like Carly Godwin. She doesn't want to give her too much plate.
Godwin goes 4-3. And it's a leadoff base runner for the third straight inning. Every single frame of the season so far for Oklahoma State, they started with a base runner.
And just the power behind her. This isn't something that she got all of it. She crushed it through the infield. But she is able to manipulate and generate a lot of power that even with the ball's in on her hands, she's able to muscle through the infield.
Rosie Davis watches ball one. Not a bad idea there by Enfield to bring it back a little bit. Didn't get the call. Evened up to Davis. A reminder that sports are better on the big screen. Head to your preferred device app store to download the all-new FloSports TV apps for Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV, Android TV, and Chromecast. It's at your favorites. Search our library of live and on-demand content and so much more. Download today. It's where you can find every single game of this tournament here in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. An absolutely full slate. Few games each day. These two will play again to conclude round one of this tournament. We're also going to see Northern Colorado, the back-to-back champions in the Big Sky. We'll see Louisiana Tech here in round one with the reigning Conference USA Coach of the Year. And that's only the first half of this tournament. Round two, we'll see 6 teams compete as Rosie Davis continues to compete in this at-bat.
And compete she has, because we've seen the backdoor, we've seen a low curveball, a mid curveball, a high curveball. The way that she has been able to spot these pitches across the zone, I really like what I'm seeing. I from both ends, the hitter and the pitcher, just constantly making adjustments.
Abel wins the battle. Good pop throw down. But the first K to begin her Oklahoma State career in game number 1. Abel starts it out against Okie State. A huge addition for FSU. Now we see Michaela work. Got the bat.
That one got a little bit away from her. She got lucky that it nicked the bat and not the arm. But if I'm a hitter and I'm worked and that ball tips off my knob, I'm going back in there and I'm saying, heck yeah, throw that pitch again. I'm going to get tighter on the plate. I'm going to make you feel uncomfortable. I'm going to make you pitch that inside pitch to me. And if you do, I'm ready for it.
That one a little more in the away department. Winds up
Yeah,
over
I
2
think
all
she
the
missed
same.
on that.
Yeah.
I saw Edenfield set up on that inside plate. That was the mindset of let's go back in. And maybe she missed. Maybe she was a little tentative, but missed opportunity there. I would go back in. Go back in again. Missed a spot. It's okay. Go back in. Get on the hands because you can tell that she's not on time.
Abel drops it in perfect. After the opening single, Julia starts her FSU time with back-to-back Ks.
And as much chaos as Oklahoma State started in the first inning, there really wasn't an overwhelming surge of power that we saw, minus one or two few hits. What we really saw was chaos, and that is what Absel has been doing a great job of minimizing this inning.
You get over 300 strikeouts, you've certainly got a power arm, and there's no question about it. Absel again, working her way right back into the count.
Love that pitch, tight in on the hands. There is a hole on every hitter, and whenever you stand up and you're sitting in the box, it's right around the belt line. There's a little gap, right? The waist is pushed back. If you as a pitcher are able to locate that curveball in that slot, look at that hole right there by the belt line. If you're able to locate that, it's a tough pitch, and hitters don't want any part of it. And that's why you're able to go back to back there for Absel and then go back again with a backdoor.
Hadut was ahead, then 2 straight strikes. Rachel struck out her first time when she was against Danley. Absel. That one's hit well, but foul.
A little bit of communication there with Edenfield. And again, she is the leader behind. Yeah, she is the leader. She's letting everybody know what is going on, taking charge, taking initiative. That is so, so important. We're only in the 3rd inning. This is a close game. This is a tight game. Having clear communication is important.
Absel goes to the riser, trying to lay the bait. Hadut doesn't go for the cheese. I don't know if I can use that line anymore. The player they call cheese, still a few hitters away in Delgadillo. 2, just a little looper, and this fight will continue. 7th pitch coming to Rachel Hadut.
Talk about a battle there from Hadut. You could tell she was early. She wasn't expecting the change. Her timing wasn't set up for it. But by keeping her hands back, she was able to still get some power on it, still be able to get around it. That ball lands 5 feet over. That's a fair ball. That's down on the ground. So being able to keep those hands back, huge for her in this battle.
Absel one more time. This one is in play, handled well. Beaum across the diamond to close the frame. Julia Absel comes in relief and more than does the job. Concedes the single, but then picks up 2 strikeouts and a routine play across the diamond. Julia Absel keeping this a 2-run game. Well, Florida State makes a pitching change. Oklahoma State sees absolutely no reason to do the same. Ruby Malin comes right back out to begin her 4th inning of work. She sits at 1 hit, 1 walk, both of them coming in the first couple of batters, and the home run conceded to Jay Beecham. Other than that, it's been pretty flawless. Michaela Edenfield, a player who can ruin a flawless day very quickly.
Won't lie, on that swing, I thought, did she do it? That is the power that hitters like Edenfield, they hold that power. You see them swing, and as a fan, as a commentator, as a defender, as a pitcher, you feel that power. You go, you lean back a little bit. You have to respect it, and I love that from her.
She's almost certainly going to finish her career in the top 5 of slugging percentage all time at Florida State. She's 2nd right now. Bonafide superstar from day one. Well, so is Malin. That was a nice pitch.
And I like the strategy from Malin. 2 off speeds back to back. Missed the first one, got the second one, but being able to throw her something different, because this is the power, getting her off balance. And then she goes up and in. That's a great sequence right there. Slow her down, speed her up.
Field, same result. Malin a little over 50 pitches to this point in the game.
And what a great bounce back. That really speaks to the resiliency in the 2nd and 3rd inning. Because in that 1st inning, she was pushing 20.
Yeah, it was about half. Down in the zone, Edenfield down swinging. Malin continues the strikeout barrage.
And again, I love the sequence. Off speed away, off speed away. She went up again, up and in, toyed around a little bit. And this is a drop ball. Lower half of the zone, inside. That's a hard pitch for a hitter to get to. Even one as good as Edenfield, especially if you're not expecting it. So being able to throw these hitters off balance.
Dak goes after the first one. She sees it was a laser. Bloodworth had no chance. Katie Dak on base for the first time.
And I love the aggression. Often, Malin, her pitches that are up in the zone, they're not as tight on the corners. So knowing that, going after that whenever you see it, that ball was hit so hard. And yes, it may have been directly to a defender, but the odds of you getting on base always go up the harder your exit velo.
Put it in play, good things happen. And Hallie Waycaser looks to keep that good going. Pop throw, down to second. Carried over, didn't matter. Bloodworth applies the tag, the Dak single erased.
We talked about impressive catchers. Look at this perfect throw, just leads her defender right into the bag. Not bang bang, but that was well in advance by maybe 1 or 2 steps. I love that from Oklahoma State.
Coach Alameda goes to Addie DeLong, the freshman. Makes her debut on the base paths, but ran into a good catcher on the other side and an elite defensive short in Bloodworth. And all of a sudden, it's right back on schedule for Malin. Chopped up, just foul. Malin's got a shot here to be 1 over the minimum these last few innings. That one pitch to Beaum, which wasn't even necessarily a bad pitch. It's just a phenomenal swing by Jay. Waycaser down. Ruby Malin beyond locked in. Another one. Ruby's pitching a gem. At least 2 strikeouts in each of the last 3 innings. Ruby Malin looking for a statement game in the very first matchup of the season. Power, location, everything in between. The new Pokes ace.
She's been crushing.
Right now, the story of the game, a portal ace in Ruby Malin, dominating in the circle. And now Julia Absel, the portal player herself, going to stay stride for stride. Still just 2 runs of separation in our potential World Series preview right out of the gate.
That's the important thing, right? We have so much game left. Yes, we're creeping towards that time in the game where it becomes critical, but this is a tight game. This is a good game. Both of these pitchers have stepped up in big moments, been able to shut down momentum. And I will go back again to Oklahoma State in that first inning. What they did was create chaos. They weren't hitting the ball hard every single time they put the ball in play. More often than not, they weren't. It was being able to keep their defense off balance, to keep them guessing, to create chaos, not just in the box, but on the base path.
How about the versatility of Talon Edwards? She hits a home run on the second pitch of her season, and then here in her second at-bat, she flashes bunt right out of the gate.
We love hitters who can do it all. That is my favorite. I'm a little biased, but that is my favorite. Because, again, it lends to chaos, especially this early in the season. Defenses are still getting things figured out. Take advantage of it.
By the way, Addie DeLong is going to stay in this game and play left field. So that's the debut for the freshman out there at the 7th spot.
One thing I love from Florida State is you don't see them get too high. You don't see them get too low. They're very consistent, and that helps, especially as you get later into the game. Emotionally, I'm staying locked in. I'm staying focused.
That's been a humongous point of emphasis for this Florida State team. Their team motto this year is be at peace. Go out there, do the best you can every single day, and then put your head on the pillow, embracing what happened that day, and get ready for the next. It's a way in which these two teams are so similar, and there's a ton of them, from the sophomores to the talent. Big swing, right through. Edwards down, hack in this time. But for Oklahoma State, and you talk to Carly Godwin, hey, what's the biggest adjustment here in round two? She's giving myself grace, understanding, hey, it's not always going to go your way. It's a game of failure. And Nicole, I know you appreciate that. The emphasis on player care, mental health, so different than it was even a few years ago.
Oh, absolutely. And being able to have that mindset of, I'm going to give myself grace. I'm going to compete. Heck yeah. I want to win. Yep. I'm going to win. Losing isn't a question in my head whenever I'm going up to the bag. But if that happens, it's okay. I can let it go and I can focus on the next pitch, the next at bat. How can I compete this next time?
And for Edwards, she struck out there in that last at bat, but the home run before that, still a lot of great things. Not going to let one run through change the day. Megan Bloodworth?
I think.
Bloodworth sends it back. Go ahead.
I think sometimes the perception is that it is weak or soft, where you're not overly emotional about something, but being able to stay neutral as an athlete, the advantages that it has on you emotionally, on your breath, on your heart rate, on your cognition, on your decision making. The athlete that's able to get back to neutral the fastest. Your heart rate spikes after a pitch, spikes after a play, spikes after a swing. Can you get it back down as fast as possible? You're going to make better decisions. You're going to be tougher. You're going to be more mentally locked in. And so giving grace sounds soft, but really it is a strong place to play in. It's a strong place to be as an athlete.
Especially in the sport of softball, right? Because you described it perfectly, where it spikes after every play, but the natural flow of it is stop, start, stop, start. And so you have that built-in mental and emotional roller coaster. And especially as a college athlete, you're stepping up your game to the highest level it's ever been. The demands are completely new on you as a player at this level, academically, athletically. It poses so many challenges. So to be able to maintain that level, it's easier said than done, that's for sure. Which is not to say you can't be emotional positively. We see that from a player like Malin. She gets that last out of the Super Regionals with UW, you can see the emotion on her face. But that's okay too, as long as you're harnessing it, utilizing it the right way. And we've seen that from Ruby today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But take this at-bat, for example. The battle, the ability to stay locked in. You've seen pitches up, 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 up. Take a breath, reset. Where are you looking right now?
This is straight veteran moxie from Megan Bloodworth. She'll see an eighth pitch here.
Talk about the timeout. Talk about the reset. Let's stay locked in. Let's talk about where we're going. We have one out. What's the strategy behind the pitch? Where do we want our defense to be? Okay. Set. Let's go. Let's get this pitch. Let's get this girl out.
Bloodworth winds up wearing it. An 8-pitch hit by pitch and a 1-out base runner.
I like the idea of where this pitch is going, but Bloodworth standing her ground. You see a lot of hitters whenever that ball comes in, you see them want to bail, want to get away. That is a free bag. We talked about the free bag back in the first inning. It could be a walk, it could be a hit by pitch, it could be errors. But if you're able to collect those free bags, that's free base runners, especially whenever you have hitters like Delgadillo coming up with her speed and her ability to control where the ball goes. That's incredible.
There's almost a small relief in having Delgadillo hit with a base runner on, because it's somebody who could potentially stop her from taking an extra base. The Bloodworth can move as well, but there aren't a lot that quite have the feet that Delgadillo brings to the table. Right now, though, Abel making it difficult to 0-2. Single and a double so far. That flies into center. So a swipe for Bloodworth. Right as we say, hey, Megan can move too. She hurt a little bit. Her first steal.
One thing, watch where the location of this ball goes. It's in the dirt. It's behind the runner. Being able to recognize that as a base runner, that's something that, it's a small thing, but it stood out to me from Oklahoma State. They have done such a great job of keeping an eye on that and taking advantage of those extra bases.
That's got to be where having experienced players help. We've talked so much already about the last year freshmen, now sophomores, but Bloodworth's just played a lot of softball. She came from Alabama to Stillwater with Lexi Kilfoyle, who's now the #1 pick in the draft, and you've just seen it year over year. She was one of the best freshmen in America when she was in Tuscaloosa. Has translated that now here in her senior year. She stands at second. Delgadillo has also played a ton, and now she's battling. Nearly 20 pitches through not even 3 full batters faced in the frame for Abel.
I also think it lends to, we saw how many runners called leaving early, how many decisions were had to be overturned because of base running. I think in the offseason this past fall, a lot of coaches' eyes turned to base running. Are you leaving on time? How, if we're having to be leaving on time, if we can't leave early, how else can we make up for it? Where else can we find that advantage?
And now with that being looped into the challenge system and being reviewable, it's going to be fascinating to see the impact on overall steals numbers across our sport. Are teams willing to risk it quite as much? So far, this being the first game, it hasn't slowed down Oklahoma State at all. Delgadillo is a couple. Bloodworth has one, though there are not many teams like Oklahoma State. Rolled right through. It hops off the glove, the wide turn, and Oklahoma State is back on the board. After the first empty frame, the Cowgirls answer right back, and Megan Delgadillo gets her first Oklahoma State RBI.
And this one, great job reading the defense. They were tight in on it. You could see the way she got that ball deep into her hands, so she was able to power it through the infields up the middle. And again, base running, great read. As soon as you see that ball tip off the glove, you automatically know it's slowed down. And as a runner, you're going. And
Claire
you can
Tim
see a little laugh from
Mm-hmm.
Michaela Edenfield. She said, you tricked me out. You tricked me out. Being able to be aggressive on the base pass. Man, Oklahoma State, they're just forcing me to talk about base running because time after time, play after play.
Now Delgadillo does take off. That was a money throw from Edenfield. Weidra couldn't quite bring it in. Not sure it would have mattered regardless. How about 3 steals already?
That one, a great throw. I think she would have been out completely. But again, We've seen this a few times from Florida State. Their defense, especially over at second from Widra, she's just been anticipating a little too soon, trying to make the play before she has the ball. Just give it half a second.
Will Delgadillo try and take third again? Two, it's sent again straight back. Now Tim patient. No less than 5 pitches in every single plate appearance to begin this 4th inning.
And I think here, if Oklahoma State can push one more across the board this inning, that will start to stifle even more the energy of Florida State. It will start to feel like the game is fully in Oklahoma State's hands. Now, a few swings from Florida State, and that could be easily rectified. You're in the 4th inning. You still have 3 to go. You are okay. But we're talking about momentum at this point. And whenever Oklahoma State has carried the momentum for a majority of the innings, it is really hard as a team to take that back. So right now, Florida State preventing another run, more so, less about the run, more so about the momentum. That's going to be big for them.
The 8th pitch to Claire Tim. That won't be enough either.
That's another thing. The more pitches that you can see, the battle, the toughness, get one more pitch, get one more pitch. Not only does that help you as a hitter, okay, I know what she's thrown. I've seen 8 pitches going on 9. My team is seeing that as well. We're able to adjust from that as well.
How about a double-digit pitch at bat for Claire Tim?
What a battle.
You can sense the excitement.
The zone of these pitches have been up, down, in, out. There have been no end to categories. The only thing we really haven't seen is an off speed.
Tried to work a little off there, but it's inside. Tim sees double-digit pitches and turns it into a walk, her 2nd of the game.
Now batting the catcher, number 3, Amanda.
We love to get hits. We love free bases even more.
2nd of the
Oklahoma
inning.
State. They have done a great job of being disciplined, really making the pitchers come to them versus them coming to the pitchers.
Bunt shown. Florida State net and field just going to say, all right, take it. A double steal. Kenny Gajewski puts on a little play, and it works out well. 1 strike for 2 bases.
I think the biggest thing you could see, Issa Torres, she was ahead of the runner, but she wasn't quite at the bag, and you could tell Enfield didn't want to throw it because she wasn't there quite yet. So good communication from the team right now from Florida State saying, all right, if she's crashing, this is where I'm going. You can see third base, second base, shortstop, catcher, all of them are communicating. In this situation, what are we doing with runners on 2nd and 3rd?
Megan Delgadillo will tie her career high in stolen bases over the last 2 at-bats, 4.
And I won't lie, I did watch Michaela Edenfield's video on TikTok on how to get ready in the morning with her softball game day makeup. I mean, I live for it. It's softball season, baby.
Absolutely elite on the diamond and on social. the makeup guru, Michaela Edenfield.
I got to talk with her this past summer, and I did ask for some makeup tips. So
You have to.
watch out. If they're great, shout out Michaela Edenfield. If they're not, I don't know who taught me.
No, they'll be great. They'll be great. No doubt about it. It's part of the reason that Michaela's become such a popular player in Tallahassee. Obviously, it's the most fun play to watch in the entire sport. The heavy hit home run, and Edenfield has some of the most mooniest of moonshots, such that her favorite part of the outfield back in Tallahassee, it's Area 51.
I love that.
Unidentified flying objects, often off the bat of Edenfield. Absel couldn't quite get that frame up from Mick. This battle continues with Hassler.
I think the one thing that we've seen from Absel this inning is those pitches that she was getting swings and misses on. A lot of foul balls on those exact same pitches. Can she get them just a little bit farther off, a little bit farther up?
So after the 10-pitch walk to Tim, 6 pitches at 2-2 to Amanda Hassler. The shortest at bat is 5 in this inning, and it was Delgadillo's RBI single. Go up top. That's a good way to get a strikeout.
Absolutely. And that's a different look than we've been seeing. We talked about lulling the hitter, and that is what Absel does so well. Is she lulls the hitter, she gets into a rhythm, she goes pretty quickly, but she lulls them into a fake sense of security, and then she'll pop one up.
Dream RBI opportunity for Carly Godwin. Delgadillo and Tim at third and second respectively. But quickly 0-2. Highest leverage moment of Absel's young Florida State career.
And this is where we want to see both sides be tough. Absel, be tough. Get out of this huge moment for your team. Carly Godwin, reset. Get an RBI right here. Being disciplined, battling back. Like you mentioned, we haven't seen too many at-bats that have been lower in 3-pitch, 4-pitch, 2-pitch at-bats. They have extended all the way, making Absel throw the ball into the zone.
See a 5th pitch here to Godwin. Cocha, Lonnie Alameda, pretty quick to put Absel in, so we'll see how long. She wants to let her go. Oklahoma State shortening it bit by bit. That'll continue.
Around the 4th inning, I mentioned it earlier, but that's whenever the end of the game, you start to feel that. For Oklahoma State, for them, that is typically where they soften. You want to see them buckle up. You want to see them get hard. And yes, it's a first game of preseason. I know I am being tough, but Oklahoma State, they have been to the World Series time after time after time.
Last 4 years.
Being able to lock in now, game 1, that's going to pay off the end of the year. And that's what they're doing. This at-bat, man.
Unofficially, it's just me making marks in my scorebook. This is the 45th pitch of this inning for Julia Apsell. 7-8, 5-10, 7-7. Godwin, the little tapper. It's enough. So Julia Apsell has to work hard for it, but she does limit the damage to the one run on one hit. That came off the bat of Megan Delgadillo, who is already going to rewrite her record books in her very first game. Right now, Oklahoma State in control by 3. Your favorite races, games, and events are even better on the big screen. Select your favorite teams, tracks, series, and more to easily access the content you're looking for every time you open our beautifully redesigned TV app. Download the Flow Sports TV app today. Available on all major app stores. Janai Kerr going to try and get going on the big screen here. Her team down 3 as we begin top 5. Now, you just begin to wonder. If this wasn't game 1, you'd say Ruby Malin is in line for a complete game. But leashes tend to be a little bit shorter in this first game. But conversely, Ruby's been about as good as possible. But right now, it's quickly 2-0 to Kerr.
Agree. I can see her going maybe 1 or 2 more innings. But getting another pitcher, especially if Oklahoma State is able to push a couple more runs across the board. You look back at those runners at second and third, less than 2 outs, being able to get those runs across the board, that gives them a little bit more of a safety net, gives other pitchers the opportunity to face a top team, to feel that pressure early on in the season.
Kerr steering it into left but foul. Ruby not afraid to embrace that old school mentality, having a lot of innings on your plate. Her pitching mentor, Danielle Laurie. So you get that. You get about as good as it gets, and also somebody who is not afraid to pitch early and often.
That's for sure. And what a mentor to have. Talk about a competitor. You look at Danielle Laurie and her career at Washington. That's who she was. That's who we see Ruby Malin be day in and day out. You see her compete at Washington, here at Oklahoma State. And I have to add this in there. I love the addition of the off speed, the consistency of it.
Tried to work top. Janai Kerr pushes it full. First time that Ruby Malin has had a full count since the first inning, and the second hitter of the game. Quality PA. Janai Kerr, her opening walk of the season.
Talk about taking a book out of the other team's playbook. Oklahoma State disciplined last inning, making the pitch count go up. Florida State, same thing. They know that Ruby Malin, she likes to attack. But once she gets that first strike, she will spread the zone out. Being disciplined after that first strike, if you're not swinging, making sure it's the pitch you want to go after.
Kennedy Harp takes a hack.
That one, a nice little off speed there. You could see how far out in front that swing was. Malin really doing a good job, not just with her pitches, but that spin rate, really disguising her pitches.
This is the part of the order where Ruby had a ton of success in the first time through. Though Kerr and Dak able to bounce back from strikeouts by getting on base. That's hit well and dropped into the grass. Kennedy Harp sends it all the way to the fence. Kerr will hold at third. Kennedy Harp's opening offensive salvo of the year puts her on second.
Talk about an adjustment right there. Nice job by Hart. Being able not only to stay on that pitch, but be able to get that bat through extension, to keep that body posture, to enable that ball to go into the gap. And I do have to say, that ball out in left field, the fact that it got past, that's an easy stand-up double. Recognizing that right away, getting that ball in, knowing that these runners are going, that was important for Oklahoma State. That was big that they didn't allow another run to score for Florida State.
The last time we had a meeting in the circle, it lit the fire under Malin, and she powered through essentially the entire Florida State attack. She'll try and do it one more time, but now back-to-back base runners for the first time pretty much all day.
She's getting towards the bottom half the second time through the lineup. I think the point that Carrie Everly, the pitching coach, made to her is we have to be a little tighter. We don't want our misses to be too much over the plate. And these things happen. We'll continue to adjust and move on. But stay in the game. Stay competing. Stay where you are. Stay with your pitches.
It is the first time in the game that Florida State got a leadoff base runner, and then Harp followed up with the extra base hit. Best opportunity by a long shot, and it continues. Widra, comfortable. Was in PV last year with Auburn. Now right back here with Florida State. Enjoying the surroundings and the 2-0 count. Widra high into right. Plenty of room for Tim to make the play. And Florida State has their second run, doubling the offense on the sac fly. A good AB from AB. Annabelle Widra, her opening RBI with the Noles.
The Seminoles, top of the order. First base, number 12, Amaya Ross.
That was a great at-bat. She just got underneath that just a little bit. But that inside pitch, the way that she was able to stay in place, her body didn't shift forward going to meet that. That's what made that fly ball as deep as it was. That's what enabled that run to come in.
With the speed Kerr has, that was a no-doubter. Speaking of speed, here's Amaya Ross. Ross goes the other direction. Routine for Hadut. Strong bounce back from Ruby Malin, and once again, that visit to the circle seems to pay immediate dividends for the Pokes ace.
We'll say we saw a lot of swings and misses a few innings ago. Now we're seeing balls being put in play, contact happening from Florida State. You're seeing this adjustment the second time through the latter half of this lineup.
Jay Beaum was the one who flipped the script, her home run in the third inning. Prior to that sac fly, represented the entire offense for Florida State to this point. Twirled the off speed.
And if you're Beaum, the whole intention behind this is find the pitch you're hunting and hit it hard. Even if it's a ground ball, pop fly, line drive, hit it hard no matter where. Find that pitch, hit it hard. Because right now you have a lot of speed on second base. You're down by 2. If you can cut that in half, you can make it 4-3, and you're still on base and you have great hitters behind you, that's passing the bat.
Hard, yes, but fouling out of play. Jay Beaum has not been retired yet in this game. A walk in the first and the aforementioned long ball in the third. That's a great time for a strikeout. Ruby's 9th comes in clutch. Florida State does add 1 run on 1 hit. They started out with a walk and a double, and then Malin slams the door. Oklahoma State still doubling up FSU in this top 10 battle. Oklahoma State looking to go 1-0 in the very first game of the year. A top 10 battle. Abel will remain in the game. Longest tenured Florida State pitcher to this point. That'll aid the cause. 1 pitch, 1 out.
She had a long outing this past inning. Had 50-plus pitches. Oklahoma State did a really good job of making her come to them. And sometimes whenever you have a lot of success like that, going into the next inning, carrying that momentum, sometimes it's easy to forget that. For them, being disciplined, continuing to be patient, that might be the hardest thing, but that is going to be the most effective thing for them this inning.
So 1 up, 1 down for Rosie Davis. And Michaela Wark works 1-0. By the way, a defensive change to note for you. The redshirt senior Annie Potter will take over for Florida State at the Keystone, relieving Widra. might make you think that Widra is the next pitcher after Absel. We'll see. A lot of options for Kocha, as you'd expect from this Florida State team.
I've been seeing that trend with a lot of teams, a lot of different pitchers, a bigger pitching staff size. They're able to go with that full on. You get some innings, you get some innings, you get some innings. How can we balance our pitchers' arms while keeping the hitters unbalanced?
It was really this Florida State team that started it. The idea of a reliever in the sport of softball, beginning with Coach Lonnie in Tallahassee. Said, I like to view my pitching staff as a golf bag. Got a bunch of different clubs in there. They all do very different things. So she starts it out with the driver in Ashton Danley, goes with the wood or the hybrid in Julia Apsell. We'll see what the iron game and the short game is for Florida State. I guarantee you whoever they bring in is far better than my short game, which would have an ERA of about 35 to complete the metaphor as the battle continues between Wark and Apsell.
Love to see Apsel start to go tighter in on the hands of these righties. She did that early on whenever she came in. I think that's what really made them back off that outer half.
That's a great pitch and an even better take by Wark. Very clearly the job of be patient, take pitches, make Julia work. That has carried over to this fifth inning. The work to work will continue. Eighth pitch. That's the story of this game. Just grinding out at bats. Delgadillo, a 6-pitch double. Other than that, we've seen 6, 7, 10 all across the board. And the payoff continues. The 8th pitch manufactures a home run for Michaela Wark.
We talked about the benefits, the advantages of being able to see pitch after pitch. Whenever you get to 8 and your teammate before you, she got to 7 and 5 and 8 and 10 and 7. Whenever you have that high volume, that is what happens. You're able to anticipate, to predict the patterns, and be able to sit on the pitch and let it ride.
That one's going to feel pretty special for that squad right there. Michaela Wark last year tears her knee against Oklahoma, still finishes the year out strong, misses fall ball, has surgery on both knees, and then in game number 1 goes yard. A Wark bomb forces the pitching change. We will see the sophomore Mimi Gooden on the other side. Michaela Wark back and healthy in 2025.
Defensive change for Florida State. Now pitching number 10, Mimi Gooden.
So Mimi Gooden, a little over 50 innings pitched last year. Appeared in 25 games, starting 11 of them. Another power pitcher. Has aims at being an Olympic weightlifter. Right now, she'll try and utilize that strength here to keep Oklahoma State at bay. As the Cowgirls answer the one run in the top half with one of their own, a work bomb.
For Mimi Gooden, you're going to see a little bit opposite from what we saw from Abel, not because of the righty-lefty, which is a factor, but her pace is slower. Her speed, a little bit slower.
That's lobbed into center. And that got lost in the Puerto Vallarta sun. One of those games for FSU right now. Hadhoot slides into second safely.
It's a good pitch, but you can see exactly when she loses it. I think the hard part about that was Harp was underneath it for so long that other outfielders didn't assume that they had to cover.
Getting off the rails a little bit now. Lost in the sun, lost in the dirt for a moment. The powerful Talon Edwards at the plate and Hadhoot at third.
We saw this happen back in the second.
Edwards lays down the perfect bunt. The sacrifice is on. How about an RBI on a home run that she blows a mile away and another RBI 2 feet in front of the plate?
We saw this happen. Look at where the runner is at third base, dead to rights. Michaela Edenfield didn't even glance over there, and I think that is a result of the past two plays that happened. The error in the dirt, and then the error out in center field, and it felt like it was snowballing and things are going, and I understand she wants to get the out, but that runner is dead to rights, and you get a runner out at third base, you save your team a run, and also you swing that momentum back into your favor.
We talked earlier about riding the emotional roller coaster, right? And how you have to try and stay level in the pivotal moments. Right now, it's all smiles for Oklahoma State. And you're right, that's something both teams will, even Oklahoma State will look back at it in film and say, okay, next time we don't play it quite that way, even though it very much worked out. Bloodworth watches the cursory strike.
But what you're going to see from Gooden is high spin, slower speeds, more movement. So for Oklahoma State, they went from fast, harder pace to slower, more movement. They have to be on the ball a lot longer.
And the Cowgirls certainly are. They have adapted to the changeup in the circle perfectly. Bloodworth on base, second straight time.
And this is where I'm pleasantly pleased with Oklahoma State. Last inning, they left 2 runners on base with less than 2 outs in scoring position, didn't get it across. This inning, you know what they did? They got those 2 runs back immediately.
That one's in the dirt and is free real estate for Bloodworth.
It's a great stop by Edenfield, but again, the way that Oklahoma State has been reading these balls in the dirt.
A huge out to finally stop Delgadillo. It's the first time she's been retired today, but the Cowgirls bringing their offense on the road from Stillwater to Puerto Vallarta. They have only been stopped in 1 inning of this game. In the 5th, 2 runs, 3 hits, 4-run lead for top 5 Okie State. Heart of the order going to come up for the Florida State Seminoles here, and if there is to be a comeback, you get the feeling it has to start right now. The good news for this Tallahassee squad, Torres, Edenfield, Dak, players capable of beginning that run in a hurry. Ruby Malin begins her 6th inning of work outside.
Leading it out for Florida State, shortstop, 3, Isa Torres.
This is the inning for Ruby Malin that I'm really curious to see. Yes, we saw the 6 strikeouts in a row, and that is hard to do in a row against Florida State, a very good hitting team. But what I want to see is in the 6th inning, as she's going through the lineup for the 3rd time, what does she do? How does she adjust to keep these hitters off balance? Because these are smart hitters. They make adjustments quickly. What does she do to keep them off balance? That's the Ruby Malin that I want to see. I want to get a glimpse into that, of who she's going to be for the rest of the season.
Right now, early returns say she'll be exactly what she was at UW, which is an absolute firecracker of a pitcher. Some conversation about the mechanics, I would guess, there.
I think timing might have played into that one. Quick
Yep.
clarification, and she's back on.
And it won't matter. Isa Torres, leadoff single.
Now batting the catcher, number
For her, this
51.
is her wheelhouse. Those pitches elevated in, up. That is where she's able to get a lot of her power from. And so being able to know that Malin will probably start to elevate these pitches, getting a hold of that, I think that's important. And with that hit, Michaela Edenfield's coming up. It looks like there may be a switch here in the mound.
This 3rd time through, so far, Malin has had mixed number. 4-3 ground out and a strikeout. Coach, she's out there. That handshake probably means you're exactly right, Nicole.
I
Ruby
think
Malin.
this is a smart move from
Yeah.
Oklahoma State. She looked great. She looked great this game, but 3rd time through, it's a hard time to get through 3 lineups in a row.
And she will indeed pass the baton. And Coach Gajewski will go from one monster out of the portal to another. A round of applause for Ruby Malin. She will set her Oklahoma State strikeout high at 9 in her very first game. Concedes just a couple of runs through 5+ innings of work. And Riley Crandle will come into this game. And as much as Ruby was a beast at UW, Riley was just as much at Baylor. The in-conference transfer from one Big 12 spot to another. Crandle will make her Oklahoma State debut on the other side. Riley Crandle dons the mask, about 300 innings pitched, roughly 200 strikeouts for the Bears. She wanted to go to Oklahoma State right out of high school. Didn't quite work out between the two sides, but she goes into the portal and winds up exactly where she wanted to be from the beginning. All Big 12 preseason, makes her debut against one of the most bona fide power hitters in our sport, and starts it out just missing inside.
And Crandle, her talent, her cutting edge, what makes her different, her break is very late. So you'll see the ball get close to the mound or close to the plate, and then at last minute you'll see that movement. So a lot of hitters, they're fooled. You'll see a lot of mishits from her, and she almost lulls you a little bit, a slow start, and then halfway through that pitch, that speed, it's very quick. It gets on you quick. So being ready as a hitter, that's important whenever you're going from Ruby Malin, whose pace is the same, to Crandle.
It's such a devastating changeup, and I don't just mean the pitch, though Crandle's is fantastic. To go from Malin, who's just a pure flamethrower, to Riley, who, like you said, can bring that break on the change, completely altering the look in the circle. A monstrous 1-2 punch, really 1A, 1B for Oklahoma State this year. Case in point, Edenfield a little in front. Davis, Bloodworth, Godwin. Welcome to Oklahoma State, Riley Crandle.
How's that for a little turn two? Edenfield chasing after these pitches, but look at the way that Oklahoma State is able to be quick with their releases. They know what's going on. They're anticipating this ball that's down on the dirt. That is what they do best. They do a lot of double plays. They get their pitchers to get these hitters into a place where they're going out of their comfort zone. You don't see Michaela Edenfield reaching for that pitch too often, but with Oklahoma State, you see a lot of hitters surrender their swings.
Now Katie Dack on the first pitch. Just out of play. That was Kenny Gajewski's focus when he was on Tim Walton's staff at Florida, battling these same Seminoles. And even now, as Greg Bergeron comes in, joins this staff, focusing on the defensive side. Those two have been friends for a long time. This group better for it as they crisply turn the double play opportunity.
Another thing from Crandle, she keeps the ball lower in the zone. So being able to find that strike zone, every pitcher that we have seen in this game, it took them a moment. It took them a pause before they were able to find that out. So the faster that Crandle's able to do that, the faster she's going to get out of this inning.
Slow roll, Bloodworth. Smooth as always. An elite defensive short answers the bell, and it's the infield work for Oklahoma State showcasing in the inning. Riley Crandle makes her debut. The Cowgirls say, forget the snow, forget the fact you can't get outside. It's sunny, and it's perfect. Oklahoma State's going to look for a little bit of insurance. As we go bot 6, the home side up 4, looking for a little more. Starting out with Claire Tim as Gooden begins her first full inning of work. The best way you possibly can. 1 pitch, 1 out to Jay Beecham.
Aren't those the best?
Take it. Especially against Tim, who'd already walked twice in the game. Now here's Hassler.
At this point in the game, Oklahoma State, what they have done so effectively is stick to their game plan offensively. It worked in the beginning. It has worked throughout, even as different pitchers have come in.
And a Hassler. Never a doubt. One of the best power swings in the history of Wolfpack softball. Now has it for Cowgirl softball. Her first with her new team, and it's to the biggest part of the yard.
That ball absolutely crushed, and that is all about staying on your plane. Look how early that barrel got onto plane of where that ball was. She was just able to just turn those hips, keep that barrel on plane, and away that ball went. The discipline from Oklahoma State, the discipline from Amanda Hassler, I love to see it. I love what Oklahoma State has been doing this game so far. They have been absolutely dominating.
Yep.
I mean, you're watching this game right now, and you can feel they have all the momentum, they have all the energy.
It is a young pitching staff for Florida State, so they will be very different come year end than these first few. But right now, it is the experience of Oklahoma State very much shining through the portal and homegrown in Stillwater. Everything working the way of the Cowgirls right now. Lexi McDonald into pinch hit. That's the other part of the equation. It has been a challenging day, whether it's a ball lost in the sun, one in the dirt, or right there that just sneaks away from Potter.
Second base, like you mentioned, that has been a problem spot for Florida State. A lot of errors have come out of there, and it's just trying to make the play too soon. It's not a lack of time, but it's just trying to rush. And this is the first game of preseason, so thankfully, Florida State, they have plenty of time to get this worked out. You want to get these kinks worked out now. You don't want to have to go through this later. But the biggest adjustment from this game to their next, slowing it down.
A career debut in the pinch hit role. A top 10 recruit. Current member of the Israeli national team. Sarah Vanderwater is going to step in for the first time as a Cowgirl. Free 60 feet. Graff, the runner. Macy Graff takes over and stands at the keystone. A barrage of substitutions from Kenny Gajewski with his team up 5.
And we talked about being able to get your athletes in to get this experience against a top team.
Vanderwater chops it up. Nice grab by Gooden. Cleans it up and makes the play.
Even if the ground ball is a result, just getting that experience in. And like you said, that was a great snag by Gooden. Being able to reach up, good communication over there at first from Ross, letting her know, hey, come to me. Don't even worry about that runner right here.
Worsop came into the game defensively, now gets to swing for the first time. Worsop chopped it up, and the infield defense, sterling for Oklahoma State, still finding its footing for the Seminoles.
Oklahoma State just putting pressure on the defense. You know the runner's going home. You know their speed at first. You know that as soon as that ball gets to you, you need to make a choice. You need to make a decision, make a play. One thing leads to another. You start to speed, you start to rush. And Oklahoma State, they have done exactly what they set out to do.
And that's placed perfectly. Hadoot sends Worsop to the plate. And all of a sudden, Rachel Hadoot at second represents the game-winning run.
Knowing what you're hunting for and going after it, that is what Oklahoma State has been doing. This is a ball that's not too far on the plate, not trying to do too much with it, but being able to stay through on extension and get those runners, those aggressive runners, seeing that over at first as soon as that ball's in the gap. That's it. I'm scoring, pushing the limit. I love to see this from Oklahoma State. And for Florida State, the adjustment, the energy, you're going to see Coacha, she's coming out making a change. I think this is the right choice. You don't want to get run ruled.
Challenging way to start the year. A couple of miscues and difficult, obviously, for Florida State. I mean, they have had some phenomenal second basemen come through the program, and they've got really good second basemen on the roster. It does a challenging time. And look, this is an FSU team that's not often away from home in this spot. Their first game outside the U.S., their first non-home opening game since 2018. And the word you've used so often in this game, correctly so, is pressure. Oklahoma State has continued to apply it in every spot. And right now, McKenna Reed will just try and stop the bleeding. McKenna Reed, talented player. You look a couple years ago, she goes sub-1 ERA, 0.97. All freshman team, a sterling 13-0 mark. Working her way back from a back injury in the late stages of the last year. At the moment, she comes in the unenviable spot, being asked to not give up a single run with the game-winning run 120 away.
But being able to be back on the field, playing with your teammates, playing the game that you love, nothing can replace that feeling. So for her to be able to be back on the mound right now, that in and of itself is incredible.
Edwards flashes bunt, brings it back.
I mentioned the experience for Oklahoma State, but let's talk about the experience for Florida State. Being able to face a top 5 team, being able to face them, play against them, you know what that looks like now.
It was not done by accident for either of these two programs. They knew exactly the challenge that awaited them here in Puerto Vallarta. It makes you better.
That's a characteristic of all the best teams.
Yeah.
What can I do to make my team this much better? This much better is the difference between winning and losing. And if we have to learn that game 1 against Oklahoma State, Florida says right on.
It's well worth the trade.
Oklahoma State says the same thing. And that kind of mindset, that kind of culture, you're going to see success come out of there because they are open to making themselves better. They are pushing themselves to be better. And as we've seen before, Oklahoma State just doing a nice job of staying in at bats, never surrendering, making it tough. The pitcher, you're not going to get an easy pitch with these batters.
Edwards lifting it foul. The great news for Florida State, they won't have to wait long for a chance to get right back into the win column. They are our next game as well. Florida State will remain the visiting team on the scoreboard, and we'll welcome in Northern Colorado, the back-to-back Big Sky champions, for the first time here in Puerto Vallarta. Edwards skies. That's exactly what you wanted if you're McKenna Reed. She does the job. Get the out, extend the ball game. We will indeed play a 7th. FSU trying to build some offensive momentum for game number 2. McKenna Reed doing the job. Okie State letting it fly. Florida State, first and foremost, just going to try and get on the scoreboard. Build some extra energy headed into game number 2. Everything else is gravy. Riley Crandle begins her first full inning of work, looking to slam the door and move this top 5 Oklahoma State team to 1-0.
I think specifically for Florida State, this is a team, they know what it takes to win. They know what level they need to perform at. They haven't done that this game, but that doesn't mean you give up at bats. Making the most of every single pitch, every single at bat, the rest of this game is going to be important for them. That prepares them for next game. That prepares them mentally, their mindset, what kind of team they are. So staying locked in, even though the score necessarily doesn't reflect that, being able to stay locked in is going to be key.
Seen to get the chase outside, not there. That pitch before that, by the way, was a perfect example of the Crandle change. A pitch that's going to be a massive problem in the Big 12 this year. Good eye by Waycaser on the last couple.
If you're Crandle, let this ball fly. Your team is up 9-2. Let's go. Let's attack. I love to see how she pitches whenever she is going at hitters.
Tried to nibble. Too much rise. Waycaser on base for the first time.
And that's what we talk about, not giving up at bats. Being able to stay in that battle, stay in that at-bat. Waycaser earns the free base. You do it again. You do it again. You pass the bat. Next thing you know, everybody's getting quality at-bats. Everybody's getting runs.
This spot, it's just one plate appearance at a time. Can't get 7 all at once, to your point. Kerr got about halfway through. Godwin and Davis came back into the game, by the way, playing first and second respectively. The defensive change is the entrance of Audrey Schneidmiller at the catcher spot. Hassler looking to get a half inning of rest here behind the plate. There's the effective rise.
That's a great bounce back for Crandle. Just being able to go from that walk to bounce back. Okay, attacking those hitters. That's what she does best. That is whenever she's effective with her late break, with her ball down in the zone, and then she spits one up. Man, that is hard as a hitter to come back to.
Kennedy Harp working ahead. 1 for 2 today with a double in the 5th. Next game for the Cowgirls tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central. They will take on Louisiana Tech on the back end of the Bulldogs doubleheader. They play FSU in game 1. Harp hammers to center. See ya!
And it ain't over until it's over. That's what we talked about, passing the bat. Instead of a 1-run home run, that's a 2-run home run. Every single at-bat matters. Every single free base, those matter. And to be able to make the most, come up and say, I'm going to compete this at-bat, I love that. This swing, this pitch is elevated a little bit high. She didn't even get all of that, and look how far out that ball goes. The strength, the speed, it's all there for Florida State. It's just about getting it consistently. And that pitch, it was there.
Just got better and better as last year went on. Tremendous experience as a freshman. And Kennedy Harp starts her sophomore campaign with 2 extra base hits, a double, and a 2-run home run.
Not a bad day.
No, you take that every time. Andy
And it's
Potter
only
came into this game
halfway over.
defensively. Yeah, exactly.
That's where you say, but wait, there's more.
Certainly keep an eye on Kennedy Harp in game number 2. Potter chopped up. That's handled by Godwin. And Oklahoma State on the doorstep of a top 15 dub.
It's a good start to day 1 for Oklahoma State. They have been battling and battling over the years in the Women's College World Series, and the biggest thing was the end of the game. I love the way that they responded that last inning. A lot of offensive power. I love the way that Crandle is coming in, really shutting down Florida State. Yes, had the oopsie, had the home run, but she's right back in it. And that's what you really want to see, is how does your pitcher respond, especially at this point in the season.
Ross working ahead as well. Floated in. Not necessarily say she needed it in a 5-run game, but momentum definitely beginning to have a Garnet tinge. Ultimate hitters count.
Good battle here. That's what you want to see. Every single pitch, not chasing, not giving way to pitchers' pitches. You're on the hunt for your pitch and your pitch alone.
My Ross works the walk. The speedster stands at first. Player who's earned her moments. According to Coach Lonnie, earns an extension of this game. And Jason E. Beecham will try and do the exact same thing.
You saw what happened the last time there was a free base given up.
Adelaide the cause.
Oh, back to back. I love that. Something.
Go. Option A.
Something about that sequence just gets me fired up every time.
It's a nasty pitch. We've seen it twice in a row. The 0-2 from Crandle. That time it's too far outside.
Is it wrong that part of me wanted it to be another two?
No. The old school mentality. It used to be the fastball for a lot of pitchers, right? Old number 1, go with old reliable. For Riley, that's her change. Does she go to it on 1-2? Crandle. Jay Beecham steers it to left. One of the best freshmen in America is already very quickly one of the best sophomores in America. It's a 2-home-run game for Jay Beecham, and with 2 outs in the top of the 7th, we've got ourselves a ball game.
Just like we were guessing. Swing. She knows what's coming. Her timing was set up for that off speed 110%. Bought into that. Bought into her game plan. And look how it paid off. And again, I have to point out the free base. That's not a 1-run home run. That's a 2-run home run. And that is because of discipline. That is because you're taking every at-bat, every pitch seriously, and that pays off for your team.
The exact same sequence. Waycaser walks, Harp homers. Ross walks, Beaum homers. Torres up the middle, and the conclusion of that sequence both times is Crandle bounces back. So the FSU offense does build some momentum headed into their second game, but Oklahoma State will nail down a top 15 victory, and in their search of a 5th straight trip to Oklahoma City, the Cowgirls are 1-0.
What a game for Oklahoma State to come out and really make a statement, not just to Florida State, but to the softball community. We are here offensively. We're here pitching. We're here defensively. I am ready for the next challenge, and that is what Oklahoma State has said. Florida State, they have some work to do defensively, but you know it's there. You saw that in that last inning. I mean, 4 runs, 2 home runs just in that last inning alone. There's pieces there. They just need to figure out how to get all their gears working at the same time. And I think the next time these two teams plays at the end of this tournament, it's going to be a really fun game.
You know FSU will have some revenge on their mind for that one. But they get to have a very short memory. They reset, warm it up, and get ready for game number 2 as we welcome in Northern Colorado to the sunshine here in Puerto Vallarta. We will see Okie State tomorrow afternoon in game 2 for their second round as Coach Gajewski's team picks up basically where they left off. The preseason Big 12 favorites are 1-0, and in the Island game by itself in the morning, day number 1, the headline all across America, they have the spotlight to themselves. The Cowgirls, phenomenal again in 2025. We'll see you in just a little bit for game number 2, the Bears and the Seminoles, next here on Flow College.